I was never the type to snoop, never the jealous husband. I gave her space, trusted her, believed in communication, all that modern marriage stuff you read about in self-help books. And for a while, it worked, or so I thought. Her name's Claire, my wife of 6 years, the kind of woman who walks into a room and people stop mid-sentence. She's magnetic, sharp, and when she wants to be, manipulative as hell. I didn't see it at first. Nobody ever does. She was everything to me. We had a solid rhythm. Dinner at 7, Friday night movies, spontaneous road trips when life felt stale. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I thought we were fighting the world together, not fighting each other. It started small. Always does. Her phone, once face up on the counter, started living in her back pocket. Texts turned into smirks, laughs with no context, random late-night walks when she couldn't sleep. She blamed stress, said work was killing her. And then came him, Dr. Mason Avery, a licensed therapist, clean-cut, early 40s. Glasses that made him look smarter than he probably was. She found him through a recommendation from one of her co-workers. Just someone to talk to, she said. Nothing serious. I encouraged it. Thought it was healthy. I was a damn fool. The first time she came home from a session, she seemed lighter, happier. It made me happy too. For a while. But after the third or fourth visit, something changed. She stopped talking about therapy, said she was processing, started guarding herself like I was the enemy. I chalked it up to her opening up about old wounds. I was still making excuses for her. Then I noticed her sessions started getting longer. An hour became 2, then 3. And somehow she'd always come home freshly showered, hair damp. He has a sauna, she said once. I believed her. God help me, I believed her. Until I didn't. The night it all cracked, she got careless. Left her phone on the bathroom sink while she stepped out for a minute. It buzzed twice. I glanced, just glanced. The message was from a contact named M. You left your necklace here again. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. Your body, Claire. I stared at the screen, heart pounding so loud I thought I might faint. And then I felt it, that deep, icy calm that settles over you when something inside you breaks and refuses to scream. She came back into the room, and I was already out. I didn't confront her, didn't throw the phone, didn't rage. I kissed her on the cheek and said I was going to bed early. And right then, I made a plan. If she could lie to me, I could lie right back. Over the next week, I researched Mason Avery, read every review, every article. He had a pristine reputation. He even had a blog about emotional integrity in relationships. Ironic. I created a new email, posed as a potential client, said I was dealing with anxiety, trust issues, the usual bait. I used a fake name, Landon Hayes. Waited 2 days. He responded himself, said he had an opening on Friday. I took it, but not as Landon. I showed up as myself. When I walked into that sleek little office with its faux zen lighting and overpriced furniture, I saw him, Mason, the man who'd been sleeping with my wife. His face didn't register anything, just a polite smile, outstretched hand. Come in, you must be Jason? I nodded. Yeah, thanks for seeing me. We sat. He had a voice like melted butter, smooth and calculated, asked all the right questions. What brought me in? What I was hoping to get from therapy? I told him I had trust issues, told him my wife had been distant lately, told him I had a feeling she was seeing someone. He leaned forward, full of fake empathy. That must feel very isolating, he said. Oh, you have no idea. I kept playing the part, Session after session, 3 weeks in, and still no sign that he recognized me or connected the dots. Either he truly didn't know me from a photo in Claire's house, or he was arrogant enough to think I'd never find out. But I wasn't just sitting on this. I installed a hidden mic in my jacket pocket, recorded everything, every word, every suggestion. He told me I was probably overreacting, that sometimes our own insecurity invents threats. He said, "Claire sounds like she's still present in your life. You just might be projecting." Projecting. That word stuck with me, echoed. The man she was screwing behind my back was telling me I was the one projecting. Week 4. I changed the game. I brought Claire with me, told her I wanted to try couples therapy, told her I wanted to rebuild, reconnect. She looked hesitant, but agreed. Of course she did. It fit her narrative. She was the poor, misunderstood wife of a man who shut down emotionally. Mason looked stunned when we both walked in. Claire froze for a half-second, then smiled like she was starring in some twisted sitcom. "Jason thought it would be good to come together," she said. "I think that's a great idea," Mason replied. His voice didn't shake, but his eyes flickered. Just for a moment. That was all I needed. We sat, the three of us, 2 liars and me, and I smiled. Because I wasn't there for healing, I was there to watch them squirm. I don't know how I got through that first session without letting something slip. Sitting there across from the man who slept with my wife, while she sat next to me like she had nothing to hide, it was surreal. It was like watching a play from backstage, knowing how it ends, but still pretending you're surprised. Mason kept it professional, of course. Took notes. Asked thoughtful questions. "How long have you felt the distance between you two?" he asked. "Do you feel heard at home?" I had to fight the urge to laugh. Claire gave her usual half-truths, painting herself as the emotionally starved spouse. She looked at me like she was the victim, like I had abandoned her. I nodded through it, gave rehearsed lines about wanting to work through our disconnect, and Mason just listened, pretending he wasn't the reason for the disconnect. I wanted to scream. Instead, I played my role. The hurt husband, the one begging for reconnection, the one vulnerable enough to be guided by a so-called professional. Mason encouraged me to be open. Claire nodded along, encouraged by her lover in disguise. Every week, we returned. And every week, I recorded. I used a second mic this time, hidden inside a pen clipped to my shirt. I uploaded the audio nightly, labeled and dated every session, every lie, every fake breakthrough. I wasn't collecting memories, I was building evidence. By session 3, Claire started warming up more. She opened up about how she felt unseen, neglected, unwanted. Mason pressed me, gently of course, to acknowledge her pain. I did. Not because it was true, but because I needed her to keep talking. She was falling for the trap and didn't even know it. One night, after a particularly emotional session, Claire asked if I wanted to go for a walk. Just the two of us. Said she felt like we were making progress. I agreed, keeping my face calm. Inside, I was boiling. "How are you feeling about all this?" she asked as we walked the neighborhood. "It's hard," I said, "but I feel like we're slowly rebuilding something." She smiled, and I swear I saw guilt behind it. Or maybe fear. I couldn't tell any more. Everything about her felt like a performance. And Mason, he was getting cocky, too comfortable, too sure of himself. That's when I knew it was time to pull the next string. In the 4th session, I dropped a name. "Claire mentioned something a while back," I said casually, looking directly at Mason. "She said her old therapist had a sauna in his office. Sounded like a fancy setup. He blinked. Just once, but I saw it. Claire froze too, just enough to catch it. Oh, yeah, she mumbled, eyes shifting. That was a while ago. Mason quickly changed the subject, but it was too late. The air had shifted. Something cracked. He knew I knew, and now Claire was starting to suspect that something was wrong. The next day, she confronted me in the kitchen. "Why'd you bring up the sauna thing?" she asked. I shrugged. "I don't know. It just popped into my head." "Why?" She stared at me for a long time, then dropped it. But I could see the panic starting to set in. The following session was different. Mason was distant, less engaged. He stumbled over his questions. Claire was jumpy, overcompensating with too much eye contact. They were unraveling, piece by piece, and I was loving every second. After that session, I took it a step further. I sent Mason an anonymous email from a burner account. It was short, just a few words. "You should really vet your clients more carefully." I never got a reply, but in the next session, his hands trembled when he wrote. Claire kept glancing between us, like she was trying to read invisible subtitles. I stayed calm, spoke softly, played the game like I was born for it. And then, I ended the session early. "Would you mind if we stopped here today?" I asked. "I'm feeling a little overwhelmed." Mason nodded too quickly. "Of course, whatever feels right." Claire looked at me like she didn't recognize the man beside her. That was the goal. The final session came 2 weeks later. I asked for a private appointment, just me and Mason. Told Claire I needed to work through some personal blocks first. She bought it, said it was probably a good idea. I walked into the office calm as ever, sat down across from him, looked him in the eye. "Jason," he said, forcing a smile, "what would you like to focus on today?" I leaned forward. "I want to talk about infidelity." He stiffened. I continued, voice steady. "I want to understand what kind of man sleeps with his patient's wife, and then has the audacity to sit in front of that same man and give him advice." His face drained of color. I kept going. "I want to know what goes through your head every time you hear me talk about trust issues, every time Claire lies right in front of us, every time you tell me to open up." He tried to speak. I cut him off. "I've recorded every session, every word. I have hours of audio. I know everything. You're finished." Silence. He leaned back, suddenly aged 10 years in 10 seconds. "I can explain," he said, almost whispering. "I don't need an explanation," I replied. "I'm not here for therapy." I stood. "I'm here to let you know I'm not the fool you thought I was, and by the time I'm done, you'll wish you'd never met either of us." And with that, I walked out. I didn't hear from Mason after that final session. Not an email, not a phone call, nothing. It was like he vanished. But that silence was the loudest admission of guilt I could have asked for. Claire, though, she knew something was wrong. She couldn't hide it anymore. Her behavior changed overnight. She was jumpy, overly affectionate, trying too hard. Suddenly, she was cooking dinner every night, planning movie nights, suggesting weekend getaways. It would have been sweet if I didn't already know she was faking it. I watched her spiral slowly, the way a con artist does when they sense their mark slipping away. 3 days after my private session with Mason, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name. Inside was a single piece of paper with 4 words handwritten in shaky pen. "Please, don't go public." No signature, but I didn't need one. He was scared. Good. I wasn't planning on going public. Not yet. I didn't need headlines or scandal. I needed him to squirm, to lose everything slowly, quietly, the way he had dismantled my marriage piece by piece behind a polished smile and a therapy license. But that was just the beginning. That weekend, Claire left her laptop open while she went to shower. I didn't mean to snoop. I really didn't. But then I saw the tab, her email, one unread message. The subject line read, "I ended it. Are you happy now?" I opened it. It was a full thread. Mason had been begging her to meet, said he couldn't stop thinking about her, that he was falling apart. She had replied days earlier, "We were reckless. Jason is different now. He knows something." And then the most important line, "He looked me in the eye last night and smiled like he already knew. I think he's setting us up." She was right. But what neither of them knew was that I wasn't just collecting proof. I had already sent the recordings to the state licensing board, to his clinic supervisor, to Claire's HR department, because as it turns out, their affair started during a company-sponsored mental health initiative. She was technically his patient under a professional referral. That violated more rules than I could count. But I wasn't done yet. I went a step further. I sent a copy to Mason's wife. Did I mention he was married? He never wore a ring, never mentioned her once in our sessions, but I had done my homework. Her name was Emily. They had 2 kids, a mortgage, a perfect little life. I sent her the audio file titled Session 4, Couples Therapy with Claire, along with a message, "He's been counseling me about the woman he's sleeping with. She's my wife." I expected rage. I expected chaos. But what I got in return was something I didn't see coming. Emily called me. She didn't scream, didn't cry. Her voice was calm, controlled. She said, "I've known for months." I paused. "Then why?" "Because I needed evidence. He's been manipulating people for years. Clients, staff, me. I tried to leave once, and he threatened to take the kids. Said no one would believe me because he's the therapist and I'm just the wife with emotional issues." I sat there in silence as she continued. "So I stayed. I documented. I waited. And now you've just given me everything I needed." She thanked me. Then she told me something else. Claire wasn't the first, and probably wouldn't be the last. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow," she said, "and I'm taking him for everything." I hung up feeling clean, like all the filth I'd been drowning in had finally drained. But it wasn't over. That night, I sat Claire down. She was sipping wine, scrolling through her phone like nothing had changed. "Do you love him?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "Mason, do you love him?" Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "It wasn't like that." I nodded. "That's what I thought." I slid an envelope across the table. She looked confused. Inside were printed copies of the emails, the transcripts of the sessions, a photo of Mason and her leaving his office, taken by a private investigator I hired 3 weeks ago. Her face drained of color. "You think I'm stupid," I said, "but I've been watching everything, listening to everything." She started crying, said she was sorry, said she didn't mean to hurt me. I told her I forgave her, and then I told her I wanted a divorce. No shouting, no drama, just an agreement. She could keep the house, I'd take the recordings. And the satisfaction. By the end of the week, Claire had moved in with her sister. Mason had been suspended, pending a full ethics review. His clinic dropped him. His license was under investigation. Emily filed for full custody. And the therapist, who thought he could control every conversation, was finally being silenced. But the real twist? I recorded everything. Even the phone calls, even this final talk with Claire. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not next month, but one day, I'll share it all. Because some stories aren't just revenge, they're warnings. In the weeks after everything came crashing down, the silence felt louder than the lies ever had. Claire was gone. Mason was suspended. His license, last I checked, was hanging by a thread. And me? I was still standing. Not proud, not happy, but standing. Emily and I kept in touch. Occasionally, she'd call with updates, court dates, asset freezes, Mason's pathetic attempts to negotiate. She was relentless, and I respected the hell out of her for it. I didn't tell her this, but I held on to every voicemail she left me. Not because I needed reminders of Mason's downfall, but because they were proof. Proof that sometimes even the most manipulative people can be dismantled by the truth. One of the last things Emily told me was that Mason tried to play the victim. He told the board you were stalking him, she said with a laugh, that your wife made the whole thing up and you were just some jealous husband with a vendetta. I expected it. That's the kind of man he was, always the victim when the curtain drops. But I had insurance. You remember those recordings? The therapy sessions, the anonymous emails, the photos. All of it was backed up in 3 different places. One flash drive was in my desk drawer. One was in a safety deposit box. And the third, mailed anonymously to the disciplinary board with a cover letter signed by a lawyer who owed me a favor. You don't walk away from that kind of evidence. So Mason didn't. He lost everything. His job, his license, his reputation. And Emily got full custody, full control of the assets. She didn't just take half, she took the heart of what made him feel powerful. Claire tried to come back once, just once. It was a Sunday. I was cleaning out the garage, and there she was, standing in the driveway like she belonged there. No call, no message, just her, holding a box of old photos. I thought maybe we could talk, she said. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I just felt done. There's nothing left to say, I told her. You made your choices. I made mine. She started to cry. I let her, but I didn't invite her in. She left the box on the ground and walked away. Inside the box was a framed photo of us on our wedding day. A note was taped to the back. I still see that man when I close my eyes. I didn't keep it. I didn't even open the rest. I dropped the whole thing off at her sister's place the next day. I wasn't holding on to ghosts anymore. People ask me if I ever felt bad for how I handled it. For the recordings, the emails, the quiet, methodical breakdown of 2 people's lives. Because this wasn't revenge, it was truth. Truth with a backbone. Truth wrapped in silence and strategy. Claire wasn't a mistake. She was a lesson. Mason wasn't a monster. He was a mask, one I tore off, piece by piece. In the end, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get violent. I didn't write some angry letter or expose them online. I just exposed them to themselves. And I let the silence speak. Because when the lies are gone, silence is the loudest thing in the room. And for a man like Mason Avery, silence was the last thing he heard.